Ah, the chill of fall, the rustling leaves, and... oh, what's that? A masked maniac creeping around your quaint hometown, intent on slashing his way through a babysitter's club reunion? Picture this. You're in Haddonfield, it's Halloween night, and Michael Myers isn't just out for trick-or-treat. No phone line, no cavalry coming, and that closet, not the best hiding spot. How many will light up jack-o'-lanterns, and how many will just get snuffed out? Let's dive into the night he came home and count the screams, kills. Sharpen your knives and tighten your shoelaces, it's the Halloween kill count. Alright folks, before we dissect another body of work, a question. Are you intrigued by the grim tally of horror movies? Do the unexpected twists and blood-curdling endings keep you coming back for more?
Do you find yourself counting every stab, slash, and sinister scene, trying to keep up with the mayhem?
If you just whispered yes from the shadows, you're in the right crypt. Here, we lay bare the darkest kill counts and unravel the mysteries behind those horror movie endings that leave you sleepless.
So if you crave the thrill of every scream, jump scare, and final breath, we have a challenge for you. The next time the like button crosses your path in a dimly lit alley, don't run. Instead,
face it head on and give it a firm click, and while you're at it, bury that subscribe button deep in the graveyard of your channel list. Don't forget to ring the death knell, the notification bell, so our tales of terror find you first.
Now are you ready to delve into today's cinematic post-mortem?
Welcome to Slice and Dice, the place where we embrace the thrill of counting just how many people decided not to stay alive during our favorite horror flicks.
Because let's be honest, alive is overrated anyway.
Before I even proceed, can we acknowledge the genius that it took to make this gem, on a measly budget of $320,000 no less? Kinda makes you wonder where that budget went.
Maybe on Michael's knife-sharpening tools.
A point for the demon. You might think Halloween lit the first fire of the slasher film world, but oh no, there were others before it. But something about Carpenter's creation stuck and lingered like that awful nightmare you had where you went to school in your underwear.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
Especially when you're in your underwear.
And let's be clear, Halloween owed a lot to its production team. Carpenter's chilling score, a suburban setting that's just too close to home, the stellar performance by a young Jamie Lee Curtis, and let's not forget Donald Pleasance. But the crown jewel, our emotionless murderer, Michael Myers. A man with a penchant for stalking his prey, wearing a modified William Shatner mask, thanks to filmmaker Nick Castle, who apparently agreed to play Myers for a mere $25 a day. Talk about being underpaid for terrifying an entire generation.
I'd do it for free.
I have no doubt. So, over the next bit, brace yourselves as we're diving into the heart of this horror royal franchise. 4 timelines, 13 installations, a whirlwind of emotions. And did I mention a bunch of knife-wielding moments?
Who knew a toy maker selling deadly masks could be so compelling?
So without further ado, let's jet back to Haddonfield, Illinois, and, oh, the chills. The movie starts with an iconic jack-o'-lantern and a title card, complemented by the Halloween theme. There's just something so eerie about zooming into the eye and nose of that pumpkin. Feels like Michael, with his weapon at the ready.
I never trust vegetables with sharp instruments.
Soon after, we're thrust into Haddonfield on a 1963 Halloween night. The artistry here, though. Dean Cunday, the genius behind it, gives us those riveting POV shots, making use of the then-novel Steadicam. The suspense build-up as the audience is made to voyeuristically peek into a makeout session and an imminent kill scene. It's gold. Deborah Hill's hand-grabbing that butcher knife, and we see Judith Myers, unfortunately disregarding door privacy and, well, you know the rest.
Always lock your doors. Basic horror movie survival 101.
Oh, and can we just talk about that eerie silence after Michael's first kill? His parents just standing there, the cold open, pure cinematic genius. Fast forward, and we're taken to Smith's Grove. Dark, stormy, cliché. Everything a horror scene should be. Dr. Sam Loomis, played to perfection by Donald Pleasance, ventures out to pick up our notorious Michael Myers, only to find things are not quite as expected.
Some institutions have bad management. Let the patients out for a night stroll, why don't you?
Every element of this movie draws from the psychology of fear. The vulnerability, the unsettling silences, the anticipation. That's what makes it a classic. Michael Myers decides to upgrade his set of wheels in the most Michael way possible. While Marion is minding her business in the car, he literally hops on top and proceeds to have a little face-to-face chat with her. In all fairness, if there were driver's ed programs in sanitariums, I bet Michael would have been top of his class.
Oh, just a casual session of Grand Theft Auto, Haddonfield Edition.
Speaking of Haddonfield, next day we meet Laurie Strode. Jamie Lee Curtis, blessing us with that classic Scream Queen aura. Laurie's whole Halloween plan, babysitting little Tommy Doyle, while she's just being her usual responsible self, dropping off a key at the Myers house. She's unknowingly putting on a show for a shape audience inside, not to mention the one outside.
I guess Michael likes his horror with a side of voyeurism.
At school, it's clear Michael isn't enrolled in How to Be Stealthy 101 since he's ogling at Laurie through the window of Nurse Chambers' car. But poof, just as she's engrossed in learning, he pulls a Houdini.
He's looking at you, kid.
Smith's Grove. As Loomis gets blamed for Michael's escape, we're reminded that some people seriously doubted Michael's driving skills.
Right, because that's the most unrealistic part of all of this.
Our dear Dr. Loomis rushes to Haddonfield, and en route encounters a deserted truck. And boom, there's our second victim. Poor trucker, killed for what? A jumpsuit. A blue jumpsuit, no less.
Fashion choices are important, TJ.
Laurie, meanwhile, strolls with cheerleader pal, Linda. Let me tell you, if there were an award for saying totally too many times, Linda would have a shelf full.
Totally.
And here's the fun bit. They're soon joined by Annie Brackett. As they wander, they get an ultra-slow drive-by from Michael. But when brave Annie tries to give him a piece of her mind, he gives them the old, now you see me, now you don't routine.
Hide-and-seek champion since 1963.
Laurie gets home, and what does she find? Oh, just Michael, up to his creepy stacking antics. Our boy can't seem to decide whether he's playing peekaboo or just showcasing his rapid disappearing abilities.
Some demons, people just can't commit.
Back in town, Loomis finally lands in Haddonfield, quickly realizing that Michael's been playing some graveyard arts and crafts with Judith Myers' gravestone. He can't just send a postcard like a normal person.
Gravestones are the new Hallmark cards.
Later, Laurie and Annie enjoy a relaxing drive, getting their groove on to some Blue Oyster Cult. The bliss of ignorance as Michael tails them in his stolen wheels. But when they stop to chat with Annie's dad, the sheriff, Loomis conveniently shows up. Seriously, Loomis, just turn around.
Always look over your shoulder. Rookie mistake.
And when night descends on Haddonfield, the sheriff takes Loomis to Michael's old playground, the Myers house. And what do they find? A dead dog. Now this begs the question, did Michael snack on the poor pooch? Or is Loomis just having a metaphor moment?
He got hungry.
You are what you eat. But let's hope it's not this case.
Oh, and here's where Donald Pleasance shines. That monologue about young Michael.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
Pure gold. Now that's how you sell horror. Alright, the sun's down and Haddonfield's Teenage Babysitters Club is in full action. Michael, in his typical sneaky stalker fashion, keeps an eye on Annie as she settles into the Wallace house. But then there's Laurie, already making herself at home at Tommy's place. And what's she up to? Oh, just poking fun at the kids' comic book collection.
Young love and ancient horror, the perfect blend.
And speaking of love, or, well, teenage versions of it, Annie and Laurie share a gossip-filled phone call. It seems our main girl Laurie has a secret admirer, Ben Tramer. Now, this chat isn't all that relevant here, but trust me, Ben's reappearance in the next movie is chef's kiss.
Teen drama and the lurking killer.
Why so serious?
Classic Tommy, always on alert, catches a glimpse of Mr. Myers outside Wallace's home. But Michael, ever the magician, vanishes before Laurie can see. However, his next disappearing act. Oh, it's just him sneaking to the backyard, getting a free show as Annie changes her butter-spilled shirt.
Honestly, at this point, he should consider a career in stealth operations.
But Michael's not alone. He's got the loyal Lester, the Wallace dog, ready to defend its turf. Sadly, the pooper's bravery is short-lived. But before the pet lovers in the audience riot, let me clarify. Only humans are included in the kill count list. So Lester, here's just an honorary mention.
Rest in peace, brave furball.
Ring ring. It's Paul on the line for Annie, signaling, romantic time. Annie, the ever-responsible babysitter, shuffles little Lindsay over to Laurie and Tommy's place. Their choice of entertainment, the thing from another world. Fun fact, Carpenter would later give us his own epic take on The Thing, which is honestly one of the best horror movies out there.
Foreshadowing much.
With Lindsay off her hands, it seems Annie's night is all set for, shall we say, some teenage fun. But, and I cannot stress this enough, always, always check the back seat of your car.
A lesson in safety and horror, courtesy of Michael Myers.
Yes, because our masked murderer decides it's go time, launching at Annie from the back seat. What follows is a raw, harrowing, and mostly silent struggle. You could almost hear the heavy breathing and the sheer desperation in that car. Annie's last-ditch effort, blaring that car horn, is cut short as Michael adds her to his list with one clean slash.
That escalated quickly.
But Michael's game has a little hiccup. As he carries off his latest prize, Tommy spots him from the window. You'd think after so many disappearances, Michael would nail being discreet, right?
Well, everyone has their off days.
On a lighter note, kudos to Michael for managing to open the door while juggling a body. Truly, his multitasking skills are on point. Might want to consider a side gig in delivery, Mikey. Now, if you miss it, Dr. Loomis, we get a short but entertaining scene with him scaring some bullies who had been giving Tommy a hard time. It turns out Loomis can be quite a trickster.
Haha, well, he's on the right side of this thriller.
Indeed. Back at the Wallace house, the scene gets more heated as Linda and her boyfriend Bob arrive to add some steamy romance to the horror mix. They're unaware of the shape lurking close by, watching their every move. After an unexpectedly short lovemaking session, Bob goes to fetch some beer, breaking one of Randy Meek's cardinal rules for surviving a horror movie.
Never, ever say, "I'll be right back."
Classic mistake, Bob. After grabbing the beer, we get one of the best scenes in the movie.
Michael's got some surprise party tricks.
He pops out of a closet, choking Bob against the wall. But here's the kicker.
Literally, Bob's feet are off the ground.
Michael admires his handiwork, showing he's an art connoisseur.
Killer taste in murder art.
Multiple head tilts for the win.
Truly a gruesome Picasso.
Now for our next victim, the one and only Linda Vander Clock. And guess what? Michael's got a costume change up his sleeve, presenting Ghost Bob Michael Myers. It's my all-time favorite look in the movie.
Ooh, Ghost Bob, now in theaters for a limited time only.
But wait, it gets better. Linda tries to get Bob in the Halloween spirit with some seductive moves.
Ooh la la.
Unfortunately for her, Ghost Bob's not in the mood for romance tonight. Then, we get a classic horror trope. The phone call gone horribly wrong. As Linda calls Laurie, Michael decides to join the conversation literally and strangles her with the phone cord.
Oh, is the life of the party that Michael.
Laurie, on the other end of the line, first thinks it's some kind of a sex noise prank. But when the heavy breathing and struggle sounds persist, she realizes something seriously wrong, and poor Linda becomes the next notch on our kill count.
Disconnected in more ways than one.
After the deed, Michael tries to strike up a conversation asking, "How's your night going, Laurie?" But Laurie, being the practical one, hangs up on him. I mean, what's there to talk about anyway?
Awkward small talk with a serial killer. No thanks.
Meanwhile, Dr. Loomis, who's apparently been too busy with the neighborhood kids, finally notices Marion Chambers' station wagon across the street. Better late than never, Doc.
Maybe he was giving them a cash course in The Boy Who Cried Myers.
Now, as for Laurie, concerned about that mysterious phone call from the Wallace house, she decides to be the ultimate friend and heads across the street to check on Annie and Linda.
True friendship shines even in the darkest nights.
Inside, it's pitch black. But Laurie follows the only light she can see, leading her straight into the bedroom. There she finds Annie sprawled out on the bed, right in front of Judith Meyer's gravestone. Talk about an eerie setup.
Yeah, that's not your typical slumber party decor.
And this is where the true horror begins, as Laurie, in classic Final Girl fashion, stumbles upon the bodies in the most unexpected ways. First, Bob swings in from the ceiling like some bizarre Halloween decoration. And then, a cabinet door opens all by itself to reveal PJ Souls doing her best dead body face.
Surprise!
Laurie, now thoroughly freaked out, bolts into the hallway. But guess who's lurking in the shadows, ready to make an entrance?
Ta-da! It's the Sheep, everyone's favorite surprise party guest.
He steps out, takes a swing at Laurie's shoulder, sending her tumbling over the banister, and the most epic horror chase begins.
You know what makes this case special? We actually know the layout of the place, thanks to some good old storytelling.
Absolutely. It's one of the genius touches that makes Halloween a classic. Back in the Doyle house, Laurie's in for a real treat. Locked out, she can only watch in terror as Michael slowly inches his way across the street towards her.
He's doing his best horror movie villain walk.
When Tommy finally lets her in, Laurie's in full-on survival mode, barking at him to hide upstairs.
The babysitter means business.
With the lights off and the phone line dead, Laurie grabs a knitting needle as her trusty weapon.
Knit one, purl one, stab one.
Michael, in classic slasher fashion, appears behind her, but he misses a straightforward strike with his knife. Laurie takes her chance and stabs him in the neck with the needle, sending him to the ground.
Pointless needle saving lives since, well, now.
But here's where Laurie's Final Girl status shows its age. She assumes one stab means game over and goes upstairs to tell the kids she killed him. Tommy, however, knows his horror tropes.
Smart kid, that Tommy.
He's right. Michael's back in action. Laurie herds the kids into one room and hides in a closet, with Michael in hot pursuit.
And here comes the classic closet scene, folks.
Michael shakes that closet door like it owes him money before punching through it and turning on the light.
Surprise, Laurie.
Laurie's no damsel in distress. She's got a wire hanger at her disposal, which she turns into a makeshift weapon and uses to stab Michael right in the eye.
Talk about an eye-popping experience.
Michael drops his knife and she goes all in, stabbing him in the chest. Knocked out again, Michael gives Laurie another false sense of security.
Oh, those pesky false sense of security.
She consults the kids, telling them to head to a neighbor's house and call the police. After they're gone, she catches her breath.
Can't blame her. It's been quite the workout.
But what she doesn't notice is that Michael's pioneering a new fitness program, Horror Killer Abs, one sit-up at a time.
Get shredded, Michael.
The kids, now out the front door and screaming like banshees, catch the attention of none other than Dr. Loomis, who's conveniently strolling by.
The timing couldn't be more perfect.
Meanwhile, Michael's made his way to Laurie, and he's not in the mood for a friendly chat. He starts strangling her with his bare hands.
And that, my friend, is what we call a chokehold situation.
Just when you think it's all over, Loomis dashes upstairs. Laurie seizes the moment and yanks off Michael's mask, briefly revealing the face of evil. Meet Tony Moran, the guy behind the mask.
Hey, Tony, ever thought about a career in modeling?
But Loomis isn't done. He unloads his gun on Michael, pumping him full of lead. 6 times in total. Michael's not having a good day.
He should have worn the bulletproof overalls.
Michael ends up on the balcony, defeated and deflated. It's not looking good for our slasher.
But don't celebrate yet. This guy's got more lives than a cat.
After the gun smoke clears, Laurie gets the lowdown from Loomis.
What's the boogeyman?
Laurie asks.
Loomis responds,
As a matter of fact, it was.
and with that, Michael's officially the boogeyman.
Boogeyman certification achieved.
But the horror's not over. Loomis looks outside and realizes Michael's vanished into thin air.
That's one Houdini of a killer.
The movie expertly ends with a montage of all the locations we've seen, Michael's heavy breathing growing louder.
And cue the suspenseful soundtrack.
It's a chilling reminder that nowhere in Haddonfield is safe from the Shape.
He is the ultimate neighborhood menace.
And there you have it, folks. Michael's brushed himself off, ready to kill again, because let's be honest, his initial body count was pretty weak.
Practice makes perfect, my dear friend.
Alright, let's break it down by the numbers. Halloween's body count, a modest 5. But hey, it's a debut, gotta leave room to grow, right?
Yeah, like planting seeds of terror.
Exactly. 2 guys and 3 gals met their demise, giving the ladies the edge in this first Halloween movie.
Girl power even in horror.
With a 91-minute runtime that averages out to a kill every 18.2 minutes. Now the moment you've been waiting for.
Drumroll, please.
The golden boomstick for the coolest kill goes to Bob. Pinned to the wall, that shot is pure movie magic. And that head tilt tells us all we need to know about Michael.
He's got style, even slaughter.
Now for the tamest token award. Poor Trucker, his body was basically a hidden Easter egg.
Not even a cameo for him.
And there you have it, folks. Halloween 1978 sparked a slasher frenzy and a slew of sequels.
The night he came home.
Next week, hopefully, we dive into Halloween 2. Until then, I'm TJ, and this is Slice and Dice.
Thanks for joining the horror party.
We're finally slicing through the Halloween series. It may not be my top pick, but this first film, it's pure art.
Art with a knife.
Exactly. And now, my fellow ghouls, it's time to vanish into the shadows. Till our next horrifying rendezvous, remember, always double lock your doors.